What's up YouTube, Demi here with another build guide from Delve League. So this is a Consecrated Path, 100% fire damage Chieftain, the Slam Jam. It's pretty fun. It's a new skill as of this league. Whoa, why am I lagging so bad? It's a new skill, right? And it has 50% fire conversion, so with Chieftain you get 100%. It's a AoE slam attack that moves you if they're far away, and if they're not far away, it doesn't move you at all. It's pretty cool. It gives more damage to close targets. It's got good damage effectiveness, really good added damage effectiveness. It's kind of like a more controlled version of Flicker Strike. If you ever wanted to play Flicker Strike, but you don't like the fact that you have to use multi-strike, or you have to generate frenzy charges, all that crap, this removes all of that. You can just play it on any build, and you don't need any generation or anything crazy like that. So the playstyle is you just drop on top of an enemy and you slap it. I don't know what's wrong with my FPS. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, it's pretty solid. Damage, really good scaling, and it's an ability that only uses the main hand. So just like Blade Flurry, just like Reeve, just like a lot of skills right now, you can equip a stat stick with it. And it will allow you to have a good Shaper stat stick offhand. For those that don't know what a stat stick is, basically, if your attack only hits with the main hand, your secondary weapon does nothing other than give you bonuses. It's just there for stats, right? So I have a Shaper sword in my offhand. Weapon type doesn't matter because again you don't hit with it, and it's just giving me extra physical damage as extra fire damage, which is a global modifier that applies to my my Consecrated Path. And it also has some Ellie Pen on it, so I get even more global damage stuff. And what else is there? I think it has socketed movement skills, don't have any mana costs, so I have my Leap Slam set up in there. Saves me a blood magic link and allows me to just kind of cruise through the game. Also, if you're not aware, dual wielding gets a bonus just by equipping a second weapon. You get like more physical damage, more attack speed, and block chance. All you have to do is equip a weapon. It can be any weapon in the game, white weapon in your offhand. You don't get that bonus for dual wielding, or for two-handed. You don't get that bonus for shields. It's just dual wielding. So dual wielding is inherently better than everything else. Pretty cool, right? But yeah, as you can see, it clears just fine. I've taken it up into about T10 maps or so. The way the Consecrated Ground works is that Consecrated Ground buff is I think it's 6% life regen buff. It only procs if you actually do a jump with the skill. Like if I stand still, I don't get the buff. If I hit something farther away, like so, then I get the buff. So make sure if you want to keep that buff up, even on a boss, make sure you're flickering onto it. Or slamming onto it, however you want to say it. I've also learned that Vol Warchief is pretty fucking good. They added a Vol version of Ancestral Warchief. I'm using it to boost my single target on this character because it's pretty good single target, but it needs a little bit of a supplement, right? Nice, count sign. So I'm using Vol Warchief to give me that debuff or that extra damage I need for single target. I haven't gone any higher than T10 because I'm just struggling to get map returns right now. As with most people, I'm sure I'm going to need to start buying maps, which I haven't really wanted to do yet from other players, just to get a higher tier. I want to get up into red maps soon. And I think I have the gear for it and the level and whatnot. I just don't have the... Oops, I wasted that Warchief. But as you can see, the Warchiefs will jump on enemies. They're pretty funny. And they deal quite a large amount of damage. Yeah, you just kind of slam the boss, make sure you jump every once in a while, and you're good to go. Pretty fun character. Pretty tanky, pretty fast, good damage, right? So let's go talk about it and why it works. It's very similar to yesterday's build, the Molten Strike Inferno Blow character. It's actually the same framework, like skill tree and class and all that stuff. It's the exact same. All I did was change a couple links and the weapon setups, right? So your Chieftain, for this 50% fire conversion node, 10% fire pen, and every 10 seconds you get a rotating buff. 70% fizz as extra fire damage for 3 seconds. That's a lot of damage. You can see it on your tooltip. If I just stare at it for a while, it should pop back up. Maybe. Hello? Yes? 10 seconds? There you go. It's almost double damage. I guess it's 70% more damage, right? And that is a stat stick effect. Fizz added as extra fire. Same effect that I have on this sword. Physical as extra fire. So it's a global mod. It works for spells, works for attacks. It's great. After that, I went for Hinekora. It gives you fire damage, leeches life, which is great. 10% increased strength. Strength just gives you melee damage and life. And then we get 1% damage that your totems leech to you as life, so our Warchief leeches. And I get 10% chance to cover rare or unique enemies in Ash for 10 seconds on hit. Covered in Ash is a 20% increased damage taken modifier, fire damage specifically, which is a 20% more multiplier to your damage. It doesn't show up in tooltip at all. You're going to have to use Path of Building to figure out your actual DPS. I think my actual DPS right now is around 400,000 with everything up and them covered in ash and whatnot, so it's pretty solid. And then I take Tawa Forest Strength, gives you life regen per endurance charge. When you or your totems kill a burning enemy, you get endurance charges, and fire damage per endurance charge. I only have 3 endurances, and the only way I get it is through Herald of Ash, which when I kill something, the overkill damage burns enemies around it. So I'm generating that with that. That's about it, right? After that, for Uber Lab, you get Ramako's Sun's Light. This is so much fire resistance that it's basically going to cap you by itself. It's kind of crazy. You get life regen, you get physical damage taken as fire, which is the equivalent of about 7.5 physical percent mitigation, which is the like 2 endurance charges basically. It's really good. And then you get regen if you've been hit by fire damage recently. So because you're taking physical as fire, anytime you take a physical damage hit, you get life regen as well, which is good. So the skill tree looks like this. You come out here first, you take these nodes, grab RT, and then I headed down into these nodes to grab the life nodes, dual wielding nodes, more life nodes, more dual wielding nodes, and a little bit of mana leech. And then I would recommend you fill out more damage nodes. So go up into the axe wheel or the mace wheel if you want to use maces, or the sword wheel, it doesn't matter. You can use sword, axe, mace, or staff, or unarmed. You could even face breakers if you wanted to. But yeah, those wheels are like right here. So staff, mace, axe, sword, unarmed is whatever, right? And then head up into Templar, grab some more damage stuff, some life, some damage. After that, I would say grab life nodes, unwavering stance so you can't be stunned, some more fire damage, fire pen, the rest of your leech wheel, and the rest of your pen stuff up here. And then start grabbing jewel sockets. I have one good jewel, which is life triple damage. You can use anything that works with your weapon type. So damage with axes, attack speed with axes, damage with one-handed, damage while dual wielding, attack speed with one-handed, attack speed while dual wielding, melee damage, area damage, physical damage, fire damage, attack speed, attack and cast speed, percent max life, all that stuff works, right? And then for abyssal jewels, kind of the same thing. I have double fizz life. Any physical damage, any fire damage to your weapon type or attacks, attack speed, onslaught on kill, and holy might on kill. What else can you get? LE penetration if you haven't killed recently. Resist if you need it. There's a billion mods you can get, right? And then I would recommend getting stuff like this for the other sockets. I'm still using wildfires, which are the Molten Strike jewels. So these are effectively one prop jewels for me since I don't have Molten Strike socketed anymore. That's my bad. I should replace them with these. That's a skill tree. Pantheons. Oh, and bandits. Everybody always asks me about bandits. If I don't specifically say the bandits, you can assume that I just killed them for 2 skill points. Because that's 99% of the time, that's what I do. On a crit build, you take a Lyra, otherwise you just kill bandits. It doesn't matter. Also, pro tip, if you're unsure if you got all your skill point quests, type /passives. It'll tell you if you've gotten all of them and where they're from. I've gotten all of them, and I have 2 from Deal with the Bandits. So anything else? Let's see. Links and gear and whatnot. We'll go over the main skill links. Consecrated Path is linked with Melee Fizz, Elemental Focus, Elemental Damage with Attacks, Maim, and Ruthless. You could also use increased AoE / conk effect instead of Ruthless, but I don't want to gem swap, so I'm just using this instead. Other links, we got a Castle Damage Taken Immortal Call setup linked with Lightning Golem because I don't like self-casting these. If you're in hardcore, I'd recommend self-casting them so you don't get killed by Grace Period. Also, the level of Castle Damage Taken is determined by how much HP you have and where you want it to proc. So mine's at about 1800 damage, which is a little bit less than a third of my life, maybe like a fourth of my life. If you wanted to proc more often, go for a lower level. If you wanted to proc less often, go for a higher level. It's kind of based off your character, how much HP you have, and your preferences, so keep that in mind. I have a movement skill, Leap Slam, Faster Attacks Fortify. Fortify is a less damage taken with hits multiplier. It's a good defensive buff. And then Leap Slam works so we can get up and down ledges. I don't have to use Shield Charge because I don't have a shield. And I don't get to use Whirling Blades because I have a mace, or axe in my main hand. Let's see what else we got. Ancestral War Chief, Vol Ancestral War Chief is linked to Elemental Damage with Attacks, Conk Effect, and Melee Physical Damage. So it just does a lot of damage for single target. And then I have a Herald of Ash, Hatred for my auras. Lots of extra fire damage, lots of extra cold damage, which is showing up on our tooltip is pretty solid amounts of cold damage. And then I have a Blood Rage, this gives us attack speed, it gives us frenzy charges, along with a little bit of degen, but we don't care about that, we have enough life regen to not care. You have a free link, I have a portal gem, you can use whatever you want. I just like portal. I've also experimented with the Herald of Purity is better DPS than Herald of Ash, but it doesn't account for the burning damage, overkill damage, which helps me clear out packs. So it's kind of up to you. Switch the two between if you want, or if you want, you can use all 3 purities, all 3 heralds if you wanted to, instead of hatred, whatever you want. 4 link, I already did that. Sorry, another 4 link. I have an Orb of Storms Curse on Hit setup. So it's Orb of Storms, Crystal Hit linked to Elemental Weakness. Because we have fire and cold damage, it's better to use LE Weakness other than Flammability. If you don't have any cold damage, if you're just pure fire, then use Flammability. And then I have a link to a Calling Strike support here. Again, this is basically a free link. You could move this somewhere else. You could put this 3 link in a weapon, and then have a 4 link caster damage taken setup if you wanted. You could add Vortex, Arctic Breath, I don't know, some other random skill in here if you wanted. Increased duration would work instead of having a 4 link with Calling Strike. Totally up to you. As for the gear, so gear-wise, axe, same as yesterday. I found this axe myself. It's about 340 PDPS. Remember, this works with axe, sword, mace, staff, or unarmed, so get as highest physical damage as you can. I have 340 PDPS. Offhand, go for a Shaper stat stick weapon. Doesn't matter what it is because we can't hit with our offhand. I happen to grab a sword, but I basically just look for physical as extra fire, physical as extra lightning, physical as extra cold, elemental as extra chaos, elemental damage penetrates resistances or whatever, and what else could you possibly get? Enemies you kill explode, dealing % of their max life as fire damage. Any of those mods, get at least 2 of them to start out with. Go for 3, go for 4, go for 5 as you get more currency, right? This is just a basic one. I paid 10C for this. I think it was 8C actually. They're pretty cheap to get a basic one, but they'll get more expensive as you add more properties and higher tiers, right? Helmet. Life resist, intelligence. I needed some int. You're going to need a fair amount of int and dex on your gear to be able to equip everything because we're on the left side of the tree. We're kind of stupid and very clumsy, basically. But yeah, int, life, resist. Amulet, I have int, life, fire damage, phys damage, and some resist as well. Just go for as much damage as you can, basically. Physical damage to attacks, fire damage, elemental damage with attacks, all of that scales your damage. Fire damage to attacks as well, and then go for life and stats if you need them. Rings, same thing. Lots of damage here, no resist, but this is life, phys damage to attacks, and wed, basically. A little teeny bit of int. Same thing over here, we got life, resist, dex, phys damage to attacks. See a theme. Jewelry, or sorry, ring, gloves. Life, attack speed, dex, resist. I went for life resist stats, same as everything else. If you can get extra stuff like attack speed or added phys damage or added fire damage to attacks, great. Belt, life resist, a little bit of extra elemental damage with attacks. Get a Stygian Vice, you can get that extra socket. They're just the best in slot belt for us. Boots, life resist. We don't need movement speed as much because we leap slam everywhere, and Consecrated Path flickers us everywhere, so we don't need to worry about movement speed at all. Just go for life resist. As for enchantments, I don't actually know what the Consecrated Path enchantments are. I haven't looked. I should do that. One sec. We'll do it together. So, if we type in Consecrated Path, so increase damage, increase AoE, or teleport range. So damage would be this one. Go for increased damage, helmet enchant if you can get it, otherwise it really doesn't matter. I don't have one. Glove enchant, go for Commandment of Fury, I would say. Commandment of Fury throws your weapon in front of you a bunch of times and hits a lot of times. It deals half fire damage, so it'd be 100% fire damage. It's just a good clear skill. It does it every time you hit something, every like 5 or 10 seconds. It's a lot of extra damage and a lot of extra clear. Go for that. Boot enchant, you got a couple options here. You could go for attack and cast speed if you killed recently. Damage penetrates resistances if you haven't killed recently. Leech if you've killed recently would work. I don't know how the fire damage one works for boot enchants. If you've killed recently, sure. Or if you haven't killed recently, sure. But if it's something like if you've crit recently, don't do that. Because we don't crit, we're Resolute Technique. Well, what else did I talk about? Did I say Pantheons? I don't think so. Pantheons would be Soul Solaris, reduce phys damage taken when there's one enemy nearby, so that's boss fights, and then 20% chance to take less area damage from hits. Good overall defensive buff. I would recommend getting your Pantheons filled out with the Divine Vessels. I have not done that yet. I should. After that, kind of take whatever you want. You could go for Phys Mitigation if you've taken a hit recently, Phys Mitigation while standing still, which I believe is all the time since you don't really move while you're flickering. I don't know if this counts as moving, so take that with a grain of salt. What else could you take? This would be good if you want to get the Pantheon upgrade. You can't be poisoned, that's good. But I'm mostly just using this because when I do Uber Lab trials or Uber Lab, I don't have to worry about life flasks generating when I have nothing to kill, so I just keep this. But yeah, I believe that's everything. Next 2 levels, I'm going to grab AoE, and then after that, I have no idea where I'm going to go. I might just grab more jewel sockets, I think. I got a 3-pointer here I can grab. I got a 3-pointer here I can grab. I could potentially just fill out more dual wielding nodes, maybe. or go for like another axe wheel. Oh, sorry, axe wheel or axe wheel. You got a lot of options for nodes. I could take Volpack maybe, but I kind of like my life regen. I could go for duelist start life nodes. I don't know. Life nodes here. Whatever you need, really. You could go for more life nodes. It's just up to you. If you're worried about crits, you could take Undominable for less crit damage taken. You got options. But I believe that'll be my update on Hottest Tater Tot for Consecrated Path. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment. Come follow me on Twitch if you want to hang out and ask me questions live. Watch me develop builds like this live. Maybe I should start going over MTX at the end of streams or end of videos. Bloodguard Axe, Oriath Combined Helmet Attachment, Celestial Hood, Bloodletter of the Vol, Automaton Sword, Shadowstalker Body Armor, Outlaw Cloak, because it matches the body armor, Forge Weapon Effect, Faithguard Gloves, Faithguard Boots, Sin Character Effect, Combined Footprints Effect from this mystery box, Bloodguard Portal, Bloodguard Pigeon, Bloodguard Raven, Dark Immortal Call, this should have an MTX on it, but it doesn't, Clockwork Golem, Sin Leap Slam Effect, Celestial Orb of Storms, Bloodguard Herald, and No Hatred MTX. But yeah, that'll do it for the video. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one, and that'll be Demi out.